Hey everybody, welcome to Runescape Wrap Up, which is going to be my weekly Runescape video that comes out every Saturday, and it's going to be on pretty much the goings-on of the entire Runescape community that week, or just different little bits of things that I think are worth talking about, and maybe get a conversation going about them. So, yeah, I'm pretty much just going to get right into it. I have someone else kind of co-hosting this first episode with me, my friend Brett. And so we are gonna get into it in a minute, but like a quick rundown of kind of what we're gonna be talking about mainly is a lot of like the controversy over the evolution of combat that's been coming out lately. Since the EOC happened like several months ago, there's always been that talk. I mean, even the day it was announced, there's always been that talk about it. But I feel that this week, the talk about the EOC and different things, some things like double servers and some other stuff like that. Mod MMG, he posted something on the RuneScape homepage, and that really got a lot of controversy and stuff going. And so there's just been this giant uproar of talk and different things going on with the community. I'd have to say it's mainly centralized around the PK community, and I'll talk about that a little bit more later on in the video. And how maybe I'm more of a PVMer type of thing, and so I just kind of thought that I might give you guys my perspective, because most of the video makers who have been talking about the like making 2 servers for RuneScape and all the different things about EOC, the majority of them that I have found have all been really the people who are really big into PKing. And so from a PVM standpoint, I just thought that I'd let you guys know kind of how I felt and what some other people I've been talking to, how they feel, because of course if you're a PVMer you tend to hang around PVMers, if you're a PKer you tend to hang around PKers, that type of thing. So that's going to be really the main portion of this, and also we're going to talk a little bit about CoinShare and how it's brought so much money into the game, and then a little bit about some other different topics, and we'll just kind of bring those up. They're not going to be major things. The major part of this video is the EOC, so with that, let's just get right into it. Okay guys, so I'm here with Brett now, and we're going to talk a little bit about the EOC right now, kind of the different things that have been going on, mainly with the PK community as of late, and how they're really getting very vocal about some different issues that have been kind of brought up since the beginning of the EOC. And so kind of the first one on the list is the whole like idea of doing a dual server RuneScape, where you have the old combat style of RuneScape on one server and the new combat style on another. And originally I'd have to say that that was something that I really wanted to happen, like when EOC was originally coming out, and I was trying to get 138 combat because I thought that I was going to hate combat, and I just kind of wanted to get that out of the way so that I could just focus on skilling to get a max cape, and I wouldn't have to really do anything with combat besides Slayer, because that just wasn't reasonable for me to get over the summer months when they had announced EOC that it was coming out. So I mean, I really wanted a dual server so that I could play the old RuneScape that I kind of grew up with and knew and loved. But now that EOC is out and it's fully rolling and they're kind of doing stuff with it, and they're also back to focusing like with their dev team, they're actually making updates now instead of focusing their full dev team efforts on either just like stability of the game or the EOC. And so, I mean, I have to say that if you asked me 5 months ago, I would have said for sure dual servers all the way. If you asked me 3 months ago, I probably would have said the same thing. But I think it was probably the beginning of December when I really decided that I was starting to like EOC. I was fully used to it. It had been in the game for a while, and I was just really starting to get used to it. And now that the Calphite King is out, I think that's probably the prime example of what the EOC has to offer to PVM. And while PKing had its like own thing to it, PKing did have skill. I will admit that. PKing took a lot of skill in the old combat system. If someone ever says that PKing took absolutely no skill and it was all just luck and random hits, that's just not true. But at the same time, if you're looking at it from the perspective of the entire RuneScape community, that includes PVM too. So if we focus on just the people who like PVM, like myself, I'm not a very big PKer. So PVM before EOC, I went to Bandos, I clicked on Bandos, and I waited until he died. Sometimes I ate a couple pieces of food, but that was the extent of it. It wasn't really anything too intense. Next, before the EOC, you just you went there, you'd claw spec, and you just kind of Rambo spec some different things, you'd switch your prayers up, you'd like different stuff like that, but it wasn't as complicated, I think, as EOC is now. And just like I said before, the Calphite King is a prime example of what the EOC really has to offer because of everything that you have to do with that. Using Provoke to take the king away from one of your teammates and pull it onto you, and then if you're a tanker, using Resonance or using Barricade to protect yourself from the Calphite King's attack, or like Resonance heals you all the way up. That's a really strategic move that you can use to help yourself last longer there. And so the things like that, if they can actually like get more content into the game that from the origin of it was designed for the EOC, I think that more people are going to start to like the EOC a little bit. And so I just kind of wanted to put out like a PVMer's perspective on the entire issue. And so a dual server, I understand that, like RuneScape Classic to RuneScape 2, they did kind of two separate servers. But the only thing is, if they did make separate servers, first of all, there'd only be one or two of the old RuneScape servers, which would then always be full, because they can't hold that many people. So then maybe, let's say they made more, it wasn't like what they did with Classic, they're still not really going to focus on updating that, because you have to realize that all of the content that comes into RuneScape from now on is engineered with the EOC put like into mind. Even quests and things like that, they still take into effect a bunch of different mechanics of the EOC. Because when they made the EOC, they didn't just change combat, they changed like critical game mechanics. So you would be playing on basically what would be a private server. And the classic servers are still up, but there's no one really on them, they don't have updated content. And I know it might not be a good comparison between the classic servers and maybe what would be RuneScape 2 pre-EOC servers, but at the same time, I just like, they wouldn't be able to update them, and I think one of the things that really makes RuneScape is having the weekly updates or almost weekly updates. So overall, I think that with the whole problem that they have with PKing, I mean, World 18 in Edgeville is now dead pretty much. You have some people there, but it's just not as much as it used to be. Not even comparable to what it used to be. So I think that maybe Jagex really should work with the PK community maybe to improve the wilderness and the dual arena and different things that are kind of PvP content specific. And so, I mean, you could look at it as the wilderness isn't just for PKers, because there's like the Runite ore that people mine in there, which really just doesn't happen anymore. I mean, it's 2013 now. That was kind of the old RuneScape where you'd go out and mine that Runite ore. But I mean, I think that maybe Jagex should just work with the PK community on the wilderness and different things like that, which they might possibly be doing, because in the RuneScape, the Reddit thing that came out today with Mod Osborne, the Ask Me Almost Anything, that Mod Osborne was answering a whole lot of questions. A lot of them were very quest-centered, but at the same time, he did mention, I will throw the quote up on screen actually, but he did mention that next week there's going to be an update to the wilderness. I don't know exactly how it's going to work. I was just glancing at that while I was doing some QED kills, so I didn't get to read into it fully, but there is going to be an update with the wilderness next week. So we're going to have to see if maybe Jagex will start working with the PK community and kind of trying to help them out, because I would have to say that the PK community is the most vocal community on RuneScape, and I guess you could argue that, but I feel that whenever there is something with a like certain update, if it affects the PK community, they're very vocal and they band together and they really stick things out and try and get what they want out of something. So I think that it would be really crucial that JX works with the community and tries to kind of help them get into the EOC, and then also kind of give them a little bit of what they want. Because if an entire community, like the majority of a community, is asking for something, I really think that you really should kind of try to get what they want, and also the ideas of the developers of the game all kind of sync together. Okay guys, so that's gonna be it for the EOC discussion. Let me know like your feelings, a bunch of different things, whatever you have to say down in the comments below. Just let me know, I'll read through that. And so now we're gonna move on to some different topics, and I'm gonna actually let Brett say something for once instead of just me talking for 10 minutes straight.
Finally.
But anyway, so the first thing we're going to start off with is kind of something that I've been thinking of with player imports. Now that they're kind of out and people are starting to get full sets of different armors, like Tetsu is now the full set of that. I feel that when people get to a certain point, player imports, as much as I love them, I feel that they're going to start to become almost dead content, but not quite. And there's kind of two reasons behind that. I mean, the one thing is that you can always go for more plates and chi orbs and lacquer and stuff like that to try and get different pieces of the armor and sell those in the tradable versions. But at the same time, like, when people start to be mass producing those things, because the majority of players aren't actually at the point in which they can be making the Tetsu, the Sea Singer, and the Death Lotus, when it's kind of the majority of players get to the point where they can make that, there's going to be a massive influx of the items into the game, and they're going to crash down really hard. They're already starting to drop dramatically. Brett, what was it that you bought a Tetsu helm for yesterday?
Yesterday I decided I was gonna offer just to see if I could like not buy Tetsu for like 41 millish, and it insta-bought for just under 35. Like, I was shocked because the week before I bought one for like 100 mil, so it's already dropped ish mil in about 1 week time, and like you said, not even everyone's there yet.
Yeah, the majority of players aren't really there yet where they can be making that, and 35 mil is really down pretty far. So yeah, if like, I don't know, is it gonna drop to the point where it's like only a couple mil to get a full set of like Tetsu or Sea Singer, which you can then like take your Sea Singer or whatever, and you can go tank next for 10 hours straight and just be in the best tank gear ever, and you can get a bunch of drops that are going to pay back the cost that you spent for that Sea Singer armor. So then are people going to start just using it that way, and it's going to be that cheap because there's going to be like so much of it? Or what? It's just kind of, it's going to be a unique thing to see what really happens with that, because it's the only armor really that JX has made that's not a boss drop, and it fully degrades into nothing. I mean, besides like the rev items, like an actual boss drop, like a Bandos chest plate or an Armadillo chest plate or something like that, or even like Torva, the next sets, that type of thing, they're all kind of controlled in the way they come into the game, and there's always a demand for them. Plus, the like lesser God Wars bosses, their gear doesn't degrade. The next stuff degrades, but you can repair it when you're done. So it's just going to be interesting to see what happens to the player import armor's values. But then what I was saying before with like the dead content type of thing is, when people finish up their storyline missions and all those other things, they're just kind of gonna get on player imports to check their special voyages like once a day, and that's okay and everything. It's just, is it gonna turn into a point where it's dead content because no one really wants to make their Torva, or I mean not Torva, no one wants to make the Death Lotus and the Tetsu and the Sea Singer because they're just not worth very much to sell, and they already have their superior forms, so they have what they need and they can repair that as they go. So then the only thing they're really going to be doing is getting resources, which they don't need, and the story missions they're complete. So is there going to be a point where player imports turn into another dead content minigame? And would Jagex do anything to like add more material to that? Use the Eastern lands are so vast and stuff like that? Or what's going to really go on with that? Not really sure. Okay. So, Brett, you actually, a little while ago, bought a Tetsu helm, and you're gonna try and flip that, and you wore it to get, like, an adventurer's log pick with it, and something happened to that. If you want to go into what happened exactly with all of that, and your thoughts on that.
Alright, so yes, I was in World 2. I was trying to sell an Elysian Spirit Shield, just a normal flip, and then all of a sudden some guy offers a Tetsu helm and like a little bit more of my cash for it, and I'm just like, okay, I might as well buy it. I've always wanted to get a Tetsu helm and like get an A-log pick because they're like really cool. So I go, I buy it, and as I'm running over, I put it on to see what it looks like, and all of a sudden it says that it's worn. Really confused. I price check it to see if it was tradable. It's not tradable. I couldn't touch it. Like I couldn't sell it. I can't repair it because it's not superior form. So I just roughly 117 mil to get an item that onto my account for the 10-hour PVM. So I feel like if Jagex were to go, wait, you said that you once traded a guy, he gave you his Tetsu helm and then like showed it in the trade and then put it back on, right?
Yeah, there was a time where, I can't say for sure that he didn't have two Tetsu helms, but I'm pretty positive he didn't, because at that time Tetsu helms were like over a bill. But there was a time a little while ago when Tetsu helms were kind of just after they had first come into circulation, when they had dropped down to about a bill a piece. There was a guy at the Grand Exchange, and he was showing off his Tetsu helm, and I started like doing the little, oh my gosh, there's a Tetsu helm, need to go check that out. And so I traded him, and he took it off. Like I saw the Tetsu helm come off, and then he showed me one. It was unnoted in the trade window. So I mean, when Brett bought a Tetsu helm, I didn't think that like they would be insta degraded upon wear. I thought it would be kind of like every other item in the game, like Pernix or Borrows, whatever, where it only degrades when you enter combat, and that just seems like the normal thing to me. So the fact that they insta-degrade on wear is just insane to me, and I feel like there's so many people that got, like, I mean, what if someone bought a Tetsu helm for max cash stack when they had first come out, and they didn't know that, and they put it on, but really they wanted to sell it later. They just wanted to say that they had it, and, like, get a picture with it or whatever. And it's just kind of like, I feel that, I don't know, it should definitely have a warning on it, like, warning, equipping this item will degrade it to an untradeable state. Like, something like that. I think Brett could really appreciate that.
Yeah, I definitely could, because I had no clue. Like you said, we were talking about it, and I like double checked with you. We never checked any like official website, but I trusted you. It just like randomly out of nowhere, it's just gone. I was like, I guess we can't do anything with it.
That makes me feel really bad though, because
I'm sorry, I don't mean to do that.
Yeah, I know you don't, but it's still like I'm pretty much the reason that you've lost that. But you know, it's
don't feel that way.
It's whatever. But
shut up.
Anyway, so now if we kind of move on to a subtopic that Brett brought up, and that was kind of, I had been thinking about how with the Calphite King there was such a large increase in the amount of GP that was entering the circulation of the RuneScape economy, because everyone's using the coin share system to get the boss drops at their market value, because Jagex started the boss drops so high on the Grand Exchange, and their value like greatly exceeded their actual worth. So there was just hundreds and hundreds of mil being poured into the economy. And so kind of on that same idea, Brett noticed something with the spirit shields and Corp. So if I hand it over to him, if he wants to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I've been thinking about it. There's a lot of members in our clan been going to Corp. I has gotten a divine, Lee gotten a divine, and they've gotten like an arcane in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been thinking about this with like number one boss and RuneShark and everyone making videos on how CoinShare actually works with this great influx from Calpite King. I started thinking about it. The way it works is that an item that gets coin shared gets given equally spread coins between the people on the trip, and that item sits in the Grand Exchange at GE market value. So on the day of release, like we said, they would go in, Cowboy King drops would go in for 500 mil if it was main hand, 300 if it was offhand, and sit there, and it would cash a lot into the game. And what I was thinking with Corp with sigils, right now, I looked it up, a divine is 429.7 mil, and if I jump into Next and SS real quick, I pretty much know the price, but I want to make sure. If I jump in and get a divine, it's leaving about 125 mil. So right now, people are getting coin share splits for 429.7 mil on divine sigils, but then
So it's like a
that
300
all
mil
of
difference.
yeah, it's like it's 300 mil difference, and all of those divine sigils right now have been sitting in the GE since divine dropped. Whenever, I think it was even before EOC, they dropped below 400.
Divines have been dropping for a while. I mean, just kind of, Corp is getting to be older now, and there's always clans there going pretty hard at it and getting the sigil drops. So of course, with just that massive amount, there's not very many like PKers that would like go and PK with it, and anymore there's not really a way. There used to be with the old bounty hunter that items would be destroyed, and I think actually I might get into that in a later video, but bounty hunter used to destroy items, but there's really no way that items are destroyed anymore. So with a boss like that always has people there, you just have a constant, like a steady line of the items coming into the game. So of course the price is going to go down. And then with the EOC, I mean, besides Calpite King, I really can't think of any place that I really have to use a shield. So I mean, with Divines and Elijahs and everything, they're great shields when you need a shield, but there's not very many places that you actually do need a shield. So
Yeah, but then the thing is, like you're saying, the shields aren't very needed, so that may decrease the value a bit. But the second Jagex updates a sigil price to about what a Divine, an Ellie, and an Arcane is, and Spectral probably it helps a little bit, but it's 13 mil, so it's not going to drop too much.
yeah.
Divine is 147 to 8. I just checked. It's much more than I thought, actually. Ellie is 98 to 99, and Arcane is 38 to 39. So the whole problem is the second that Jagex updates the prices of sigils, all of those coin share like drops that people have gotten from when they drop are all going to be brought into the game, and that's a mass increase into the game, and that's also bringing in a lot more cash because people gain cash off sigil drops from coin share, but then the sigil never came into the game, which is still another 140 mil, 150 mil. So the Divines, Ellies, and all are expected to drop the second Jagex updates their prices in the GE, and that's going to be really tough for some people.
Alright guys, that's going to be it for this week's RuneScape wrap-up. We wanted to do a little bit more, but as you've already heard, Brett's audio quality really isn't all that great. So I will try and have that fixed by next week's episode so that you can hear everything perfectly. But yeah, so we're probably going to do a little bit more with the next episode, some more discussion. Because this episode, just like I said, his audio quality wasn't all there, so I was doing a lot of the talking. But other than that, I really hope you enjoyed this episode. And so tomorrow in my Road to Maxcape, I'm going to be talking a little bit about item syncs and GP syncs and some other different things like that. Some ways to get GP and items out of circulation so that will have a beneficial factor to the value of items, since items are constantly coming into the game, but currently there aren't very many ways to get them out. So I'll be talking about that for most of my Road to Maxcape tomorrow. There will be a link in the description after I finish up with the Road to Maxcape tomorrow. I'll have a link in the description, but of course if you're watching this before I get my Road to Maxcape out, it won't be there. But other than that, thank you guys for watching. I hope that you enjoyed it, and next week I do promise that I will fix the problems that we had with the audio quality. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and have a good day.